Hello everyone, welcome back to the Obai Tory Stories. So I actually recently came across an article on Straits Times that said that spending by Singapore families on private tuition alone has risen to 1.8 billion Singapore dollars in 2023.
Yep.
And that is almost 2 years ago. So I can imagine that the figure might have gone up by 2025.
Yeah, I think that's a given, right? Because in Singapore, the cost of living is going to rise and everything is going to be more and more expensive. Your food, your hawker center meals have gone up from what, $3 to now at $6. It's doubled. So definitely everything is going up, not just hawker food, but even tuition. And do you know that some tuition centers charge $1 per minute of teaching? Yeah, that's right. You go to a tuition center, every minute you are there, you're paying $1. So it's now, imagine if it's going up by 5%, it's going to go 105, 110, and so on. And it's just going to get more and more expensive, but this is something that we have to anticipate because everywhere around the world, things are going to go up and services are not cheap. It involves human labor, and of course we need to pay human capital money, so generally things have to go up.
No, but
That's a given.
but because but the thing is, I know that there is it's expensive and that of course there are people who are still able to afford private tuition, but I've always been very curious about this because I've never taught in a tuition center, so I don't know how it feels like. But why are some tuition centers so terribly expensive, but yet people are still able to go to those tuition centers?
Yeah, that is something that parents are really willing to spend their money on, right? You have to ask the clients, why do they demand for more of such services? And we can only point to one fact, that they are anxiously hoping that their children will get a better head start. And I think if you're a parent, it's natural that you want the best for your child. I mean, which parent does not? Which parent gives birth and say, I want the worst for you? No, right? They always want to nourish and give their children the best. So they'll pay top dollar for these things if they can afford. And I think that it's natural that you want only the ones that can guarantee you success or have proven track records. So naturally, they will gravitate towards the centers that have students or alumni who can share the experience of going into, let's say, a prestigious university like Harvard and Yale. So when they get into these universities, I mean they as in their children get into these universities, they feel more secure and they have this peace of mind, if their children can enter this university. But first and foremost, they must get their children prepared and they want the highest chances. It's just basically buying chances and hopes, that their children can get in. They also feel that by paying top dollar, they are paying for the best teachers, they are paying for the top material, the best kind of classes possible, available. And I think, what about you? Do you feel that paying top dollar means paying for the best classes?
Okay, I think there's this whole mindset of like, the more expensive something is, the more of quality it is. So meaning to say that people are willing to pay money for quality. In this case, quality tuition or quality enrichment classes. So, and Singaporeans being Singaporeans, I think we also know that, it's like in a hawker center, you usually will queue up for things that you see long queues for. And you think that, everyone's queuing up for that thing, and no matter how expensive it is, you don't want to lose out in that competition in that sense.
Correct.
And so naturally, I think if the tuition center is able to brand themselves really well, brand themselves as a very elite kind of center or agency, then I think there is also a very high chance that people will buy into that elite, prestigious kind of vibes and send their kids for the tuition, because then the kids themselves will be seen as being able to receive elite tuition in this case.
They will seem like they're more equipped, right, with the tools to handle more prestigious college. But now the question I have is, just because it's branded as more premium, does that mean that this center's materials suit your children better? Does it mean that your child can handle everything inside? I think the answer is no. Simply because there are materials inside that sometimes might be pitched at a higher pace of learning, and some children, unfortunately, no matter how much money you can throw at the center, it does not mean that your child will do well. I can guarantee you this, because it depends on how your child receives the classes as well. Whether or not this class is compatible with your child's learning needs is another question altogether. So it does not mean that it's more expensive, it's better. Because, you know, just like taking a supplement, it's not that every supplement can help you. It depends on how your body responds to it as well. And this is one thing that parents need to consider when they put their children in such centers. I think that's very important. Of course, there is one more thing that the parents are hoping for. They are also hoping to get their children closer to other children who are in that league as well. So do you hear of this thing called the networking effect? You know, networking effect. So basically the people around you can influence you. And so this is very important, because when you go to a certain center or a certain kind of prestigious place or class or university, you get to know their parents, you get to know their families, you slowly get to learn about these people and how they behave, their habits and everything, and slowly your mind will shift towards that. And I think parents are looking for that as well.
Social capital, like developing social capital through the connections that they make with the students and the students' parents themselves.
Exactly.
And especially when, like, you know, when the parents come and pick their children up, there's always this sitting space where, like, the waiting space where the parents will wait for their children, right? But in the meantime, when they meet other parents, I think they'd be happy to kind of talk to each other about, you know, what they do for a living, what are some connections they might have, and then one connection lead to another connection, and then word spread quite quickly about who you are and what you do. And then there is this whole concept of networking effect leading to net worth, right?
Yes.
So who you are depends on who you hang out with.
Yes.
And so now we know why wealthy people like to hang out with wealthy people, and then they continue to be more wealthy than before, simply because of all these associations and social capital. And which brings me to a question: what happens if, I mean, there are students and families who can't afford to send their children for such tuition, so let alone talk about developing social capital or even building networks.
You're right, because 80% of us, you know, in Singapore, we live in HDBs or public housing, so the masses may not be able to afford these kind of prices. There are a handful of those who are living in HDBs who would throw the money at these centers. It's quite normal as well. But I think sustainability wise, if the prices keep going up and up, you know, parents will get more frustrated, and tuition will be seen as only something that the wealthy can afford. Good tuition will only be seen that way. And I think parents have to resort to other ways and means to get tuition at a more affordable cost.
Yeah, so it seems like being able to afford tuition now is a privilege.
It is. I must say it is, because you know what? Hiring a human to teach you or your child, you are actually paying for that time to impart the knowledge.
And the emotional labour that goes with teaching as well.
Exactly. Time, effort, resources, all these are needed. And the only thing that could bring down these costs right now is AI. And that's what I think is helping people. So, have you heard of qubits?
Yes, qubits. Yeah, I have seen some of their questions before. I actually tried designing some of the questions before. It was for a very, very short while. So, so I'm familiar with qubits. I thought it was quite interesting to be designing questions for qubits.
You should share your experience more on the next podcast.
I can share it now, in fact.
Okay.
Because it was a very short stint, and I know that I was designing questions for the primary school syllabus, and so I had to be very creative with questions lah. So like, for example, if let's say the topic is on ecology, then I needed to, I think, come up with like at least 50 questions on ecology, and I realized that I like designing questions and creating content in this case. I thought it was quite interesting to be designing for qubits. But what do you know about qubits?
I have students who use qubits and they do it as part of their school assignment, and I watch how they do it. I think it's very interesting how they actually are motivated to do such homework, because they actually get points and they have this very cute reward system at the end of each activity. So they are incentivized to use computers because they are always on the computer or on screens. So it's like, oh, qubits is like computer screen time, yay! I get to learn and at the same time use it. And parents are kind of supportive of it because in a way it's actually helping the kids grow. You know, without forcing them to do homework. It's so easy, right? It's a fun way to do homework.
Yeah, you reminded me. I think when I was doing relief teaching in a primary school, the students also have got access to the personalized learning devices, and I think it was a science lesson I was doing a relief for, and the teacher told me to basically just hand out the devices to the children and they know what to do. So that was the instruction she gave me. They know what to do with the devices.
I remember, because when I was a kid in school, I always remember whenever we get computer time, everyone in the class cheered. It's like, let's go to the computer lab, and we all rush to line up. You know, it's like the kids just knew what to do.
Even till now.
You don't even have to yell at them.
Yeah, but that's it, right? Do you think that parents will be willing to pay for, like, you know, like such an educational platform over having a human tutor?
Yeah, I think they are willing, as long as they can substitute the teacher's work and as long as they can get good or even better materials than what the teachers can supply. Yeah.
But I always have this dilemma. I feel like, I don't know, as a classroom teacher, I always feel that my students who have got tuition, right, they treat their teachers in school, they take them for granted. They don't listen because they know that their tuition teachers will cover whatever that they need to know at home during tuition. And so sometimes I feel like, so when I was teaching back in the secondary school, I really did not like the way some tuition teachers were telling their tutees to not listen to the teachers in school, because I mean, some of them might even say that, oh, whatever that your teacher is teaching you in school is the long-winded way.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Do the shortcut way. You know, it's easier and faster for you to get the results that you want. But then again, in while we're preparing students for exams and whatsoever, there is a standard way that teachers are looking for, because we are preparing students for the O levels, right? I mean, shortcut ways to get an answer. Okay, fine, I've nothing to say. But we are looking for, there are method marks, right? They want to know if the students actually understand how to do it.
Yeah, it's about the process.
Yeah,
it's about making sure that your student knows every step and what they need to do next, first, second, third, fourth, in that order, in order to get the answer. But yeah, there are shortcuts that teachers and tutors do teach their students. And sometimes, you know, the tutors already have taught these kids before they enter the classrooms in school. So naturally they don't pay attention. But I always tell my students, for me as a tutor, I always tell my students, you know, you learn from me first as a tutor, but then when you get to school, please use it as an opportunity to revise everything I taught you and to digest the concept again. So first time through me, second time through the school teachers for revision. It's very important for them. Otherwise, nothing really sinks in if they just go through me. So I feel that school teachers play a very important part in making sure that the children actually totally digested what I said earlier.
Yeah, especially concepts, basic concepts. There are, like, you can't take shortcuts to learn something, because the process is what matters, especially when teaching a scientific concept that the students are learning of it for the first time.
It's just like driving, right? If you don't get it the first time round, everything together, you have to slowly build. And your brain actually, you know, science has shown that you build through this thing called neuroplasticity, and your brains have this thing called dendrites. And to build that takes time to link one cell to another in the brain. So you have to do it not once but twice or three times. Many times in order for these links to be solidified. So you do need to give children more practice time Yeah, and that's why teachers have to revise. And teachers always find themselves repeating.
Yeah. I have the habit of repeating it, even though I think I've repeated it enough times.
Yeah, because we have to understand that children don't have their frontal lobes. We have to build it for them.
Not yet developed.
Until they are 25. So basically we have to tell them and teach them what to do and help build their brain cells up. Otherwise, you know, they will forget and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, you know, Chiu Ting, what's important is that these children understand that through these processes, they get, you know, to learn, to understand the journey that they go through is something that is important, whether in life or anything.
Yeah.
Anything you learn takes time.
Yeah. And I also wish that more people will know, or rather like hope that it's not just about doing well for the exams.
Yeah.
I mean, exams shouldn't be the be all and end all. I feel like when we teach children, we're teaching them for life and not just for the exams. I wish that we could have that really driven into their heads and realize that every assignment they do, it's not just because they have to turn in the assignment for that grade.
Yeah.
But for life, you know, the attitude is what matters, character is what matters, the grades, no matter how brilliant you are in your grades, if you don't have the character or the attitude towards learning, I think the grades will only take you so far.
Yeah, the values are more important than the grades.
Yeah.
So always have values and then grades come next. I always believe that with a growth mindset, you can learn anything and you can be very good at anything. So ultimately, the mindset is more important. The character is more important.
And the process.
That
matters.
And how you do it and how you get there is great. Yeah. So you can take shortcuts or whatever, but as long as the process, you know, you learn through the hard times.
Yeah. And sometimes doing the hard things make you smarter in a shorter time.
So I wish you all a difficult journey
of learning, but also enjoying that process, because I mean, if you don't enjoy learning, there's really, like, I don't know, if you don't enjoy learning, then it's going to be very difficult for you to do anything.
It's like what Jensen Huang said, you know, the CEO of NVIDIA. He said, I wish you a hard life. Right? He said that. He said something along that lines, because he's actually trying to wish you for the chance to overcome your difficulties. And basically you have to learn to get through the hard stuff to do very well. Yeah. So in life it's the same thing, even for children. And as much as we want to comfort them and shelter them, we want to give them the best privileged life and pay top dollar just for that. Yeah. You know, but ultimately is whether or not your children can withstand the test of time. Can withstand the hardships of life.
To build resilience lah.
Build resilience, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important.
Okay, with that, see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.